And done. Yeah. Sick. What do you want, Gregoire?
What are you doing in here, boy?
Well, I'm just painting miniatures right now. If that's okay with you.
Now, what do you do with these figurines?
You paint them and then you play them in a game with your friends.
Social interaction is overrated. I prefer your basement with the rats.
From you, it's a lot because you've been retired for hundreds of years. So I would recommend you get a hobby at one point. Well, for this hobby, you really only need a knife and some paintbrushes. And can I have my robe back?
Now, don't cut your finger.
Thank you for the warning. I'll try to be safe.
Okay. Goodbye. Be careful. And by the way, I'm never giving back your robe again.
Well, here goes a robe. I also gotta paint. Sorry about that. Well, welcome back to another Havoc video. Today we are going to learn how to paint a sword. Not just any sword, a non-metallic one. An atmospheric one, if you will. So first, what I want you to do is take a dark blue, here I'm using Night Sky, and base coat the sword, or any surfaces that you are trying to paint. Now, don't think that you have to use exact paints that I do. Please use any dark blue that you have, but use a dark blue. Okay, here we're just going to let that blue dry, and then we're going to add reflections. These will make the sword look like, well, a sword. And we're just going to add two on the top, one on the bottom. We're going to mimic how metal will actually interact with that light source, which would usually be the sun. Here, I would recommend maybe use a reference, or maybe learn how light works. I still fully don't know how light works, and I'm trying to be better. This is how the hobby works, is that you learn more, and I hope you're going to learn something from this. Here, we're just going to glaze that already established highlights to that blue. Now, reapply some of that talisman teal to get some punch to that sword. Make sure it looks really good. And this is where my camera is out of frame. Here you are going to watch me be stupid for about 5 seconds. A little bit more than 5 seconds. It happens a little too often. Quick reminder, please like and subscribe so you help me make more content and better content, not mess up like this. Hey, we're back. Okay, now the last step is that we just mixed 80 to 20% talisman teal with white, and we're going to highlight the inside. And here we are going to glaze inside the reflections to the outside of the reflections, so it becomes a little bit more smooth. Now we're going to take 50% talisman teal and 50% white. We're going to mix it together. We're going to highlight the upper areas of those reflections, so it looks like the sun is hitting the sword in a way that makes it look, well, metal. You don't have to be the best at doing reflections, just kind of follow me and do what I'm doing. I'm not an expert at this, but what I like to do is use references from more experienced painters. Now, after you do both of those steps, we are going to glaze that 50% white and 50% talisman teal mix. We're going to glaze it over the sword, so it becomes a little bit more smooth and it has more pronounced highlights. Here we are going to make sure the white is further down, and we're going to highlight the edge of the blade, so the most raised area of the blade to the edge of the blade where it's the sharpest. We're going to highlight that so you have some more definition with that. Now here we're going to make some extra highlights with sun yellow, or just mixed really, really bright white with yellow. So it makes kind of like a barely yellowish white. And we're going to highlight all of the areas that we previously highlighted with that teal and white. Feel free to skip the talisman teal and white. That just adds a little bit more vibrancy to the sword. So I prefer using it. But you don't have to follow me, because, well, let's be honest, I'm not the most experienced painter out there. I just know something. And here we're going to bring back that yellow and white mix, and we're going to mix it a little bit with that talisman teal, because talisman teal is that important color that we want. It's going to make it more vibrant. So once we do that, we are going to highlight once more. Highlight all of it. See, once you get most of that plan down, that blueprint, if you will, it becomes a lot easier. And here, after you do those highlights, we are going to glaze that talisman teal again over top, so it becomes blue. Glazing is an important skill that you want to learn for painting non-metallic metal, because you need to glaze some of these yellow, blues, whites, whatever, to make it have more contrast. Contrast is, again, the most important thing in non-metallic metal. Feel free to pause the video at any time so you can catch up on these steps. And here, we are going to, well, you guessed it, highlight again. We're going to highlight all of the areas, and we're going to add little tiny scratches to it, so it becomes a little bit more realistic and deep. You can add story to your swords and your weapons. It just makes it so much more lively. Now here we're going to bring back some of those shadows and develop more contrast, because that is the most important thing of non-metallic metal, is contrast. We're going to bring back that blue and we're going to add it to the shadows. And here we are going to add some more highlights. Oh my god. It's enough highlights, right? But it's important. Just add a little bit of white and continuously do that, glaze it, and you are going to get non-metallic metal somewhere. So we're just going to add those highlights again, and we're going to continue adding highlights. We're going to find that medium, that exact place to where we are going to place those highlights. And it's kind of the same thing, is that you're trying to add shadows and then you're trying to add highlights, and you're trying to blend them in so it becomes a little bit more smooth and we don't add that texture that makes metal not look like metal. Now you might be asking me, Havoc, why would I use non-metallic metal instead of whatever metallic paints I have? Well, non-metallic metal, it makes it look more real. You can control where the highlights add, and it adds more depth to it. See, with metallic paints, it's a normal paint, but it has those metallic chips in it, and it just makes it really look kind of gritty and not perfect. Here you can control where you want it, the highlights. You can add a scene. You can make a scene with your model. Okay, now here, all you just really need to do is you just need to add that highlight, and I want you to do a glaze. If you don't know what a glaze is, so you just mix like a heavy amount of water into the paint to where you can glaze it over your fingernail, and it adds that pigment, it adds that color, but you can still see what is below it. Whatever is below it is what our base is, and we want to glaze that color to make just a slight change, but that change can do a lot. And here, when you get all of these glazes done, you're going to add some more scratches. These scratches kind of add a lot of stories. Like with this model, you might be wondering, is a kit badge that I did for my Pirate Drukhari yarn. I used the Catadrine Overlords from Games Workshop, and I sculpted a whole bunch of swords, the balloons, and whatever, and these are going to be my scourges for my army. So these swords are, I'm thinking, in a pirate wasteland, and they're just being used for pretty much everything. Whatever, it's like chopping meat for your food or chopping rope, it doesn't matter. You just have to add some story to your model to give it more depth and whatever you really want. Sorry for the overused depth. That's just a really important part for non-metallic metal and storytelling in your miniatures. It just ups your level so much more. Now let's add some more color. So what I want you to do is grab like a brownish yellow or an ochre, and we're going to glaze it over where the highlights meet the shadows, or so it has like a mid-tone of this brown. If you do this right and you follow my steps, then you're gonna have a phenomenal looking sword. You just gotta work with it. Well, we were pretty much done now. So, big lesson of the story is use those blues, those yellows, maybe some of that ochre. You're gonna blend them together, that white, and we're gonna use what we learned to make a phenomenal, fantastic looking sword. Well, that's it. That's all the information you need to know on how to paint a novice hogmallow sword. If you learned anything or you enjoyed this video in any sort of way, please like and subscribe. It helps me. I want to do more of these videos, and I really do enjoy it. Here's the final product.